Welcome everyone. That was slightly weird. We had a weird red flag across the screen for some reason. But welcome everybody to episode 11, Beyond Double Digits. Actually called Beta 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 for all my references, and now I'm gonna go.
See you later, everyone.
Let's just go ahead and end the episode right there on my cheesy reference. It was the best I could do today.
Because of NDA, we're done.
we're just not talking about anything. We've changed our minds. We're not going to cover anything at all. But welcome everybody. Today we are talking about Beta 1. Obviously, there's not tons of different or new things we can really talk about, but we do have a little bit. For the last 4, 5, 6 million weeks, it feels like City State Entertainment has been live streaming tons of live streams. Tons of live streams of them working on the game, talking about the game, doing Q&As. So many Q&As that people are running out of questions. I go into them. I've seen so many of them now that they're like, we need questions. Who wants to ask questions? I'm like, I'm out of questions. Let me rephrase that. I'm out of questions you're going to answer.
That's more accurate.
Is I do have other questions, but they're not going to answer. Though I did have a question I kept trying to ask for Ben, and the one time I had it, every time I asked it, they were like, you need to ask Ben. And then Ben never did another live stream until he did one that I missed.
And you weren't there.
And then there was one he was supposed to get on. He was going to get on and talk about stuff. And I was like, yeah. Jesse was like, we're going to get him on. I was like, oh, I'm going to get him. I got my question ready. And then she didn't get him on. He was busy with something. I was like,
yeah.
So I will come back to that question someday.
We'll get you,
anyway.
Ben.
I'll get you, Ben. Anyway, they've talked about all kinds of stuff. I'm not going to go through all the... Where did myself just go?
Gone.
Holy, that was weird. I have absolutely no idea what Skype just did to me. Skype... Can y'all still see my video? Okay.
It's coming back up. Here it comes.
For some reason, Skype turned off my webcam. That was weird.
Interesting.
Skype is being... All right, you keep this up, Skype. I will start using Google Hangouts. Don't make me do it. I really don't want to do it. All right.
Anyway.
Yeah. Stuff, features, things. They have announced all kinds of things. I am not going to go through all the different announcements and stuff for Beta 1 that they have put out over the last 4 weeks, because that would be crazy and y'all don't really want to listen to that. If you want the full details of that, you can go to realmsunchained.com, where I have posted summaries each week of the new bits of information that they've put out. But I do have a few things I wanted to mention to preface our discussion, because what we're going to be looking at today is, what is Beta 1? What is Beta? What do we think CSE's beta goals might be for Beta 1? That's pure supposition, guesswork on our part. But what do we think they want to accomplish in Beta 1? And we're going to talk about some beta events, some stuff that we can do to keep ourselves entertained, because I'm expecting months of Beta 1 and probably going to get bored after a while of certain things, of doing certain things. For now, though, some of the new things, the things that we know are going to be in for Beta 1 that they've announced over the last 4 weeks of live streaming. We know there's going to be a ballista.
Making.
Do what?
Swords making.
Yes, they did make a sword. There's going to be basic crafting. It's supposed to be maybe a little bit more than we were expecting. It's going to be a ballista in-game. We can shoot ballista or ballistae at keeps and whatnot. There will be a place of power. They have male and female character models for humans, Lutrapan, Picts, and Valkyries. Group size is set to 8 going into Beta 1. That is, of course, liable to change as needed. The building and destruction. There's basic crafting, but no money in the game yet. I'm assuming not at launch of Beta 1, but during Beta 1 they are going to add a European server for European players.
I don't remember if it was at launch or not, but yeah. pretty early into beta 1, there's going to be a European server.
Yeah, I assume it's going to be after the beta 1 starts, since they haven't. I don't think they specifically said that it would be right at the start of beta 1. Gifting is going to be in for beta 1. They said they're not starting beta 1 until people can gift their accounts to other people, so that people who should have beta 1 will have beta 1 access. And there's no camouflage in beta 1. That's important because it affects me.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So with all that out there, how is chat doing? And I guess, how are y'all doing? I already know Chris is tired. You've been up since 6:30. I have.
No, I'm gonna be up for 6:30 tomorrow.
Ooh, that's even worse because it's in the future.
Yeah, that's 4 hours sleep, probably something like that.
Yeah, I'm doing well. It's my first Saturday off. I know everyone who normally watches hasn't seen me for 2 episodes because I've been working.
Yep.
So I'm back. I might not be back next time, but we'll see.
Hopefully you will.
We might have a special guest next time too. We were supposed to have one maybe for this episode, but that didn't work. So a non-CSE guest. I should preface that. I don't want anybody to get too excited here. And then come in next episode and be like, "You lied to us." No. Yeah, Mark, we know you've been working a little bit.
We know you're working. Just a little bit.
We're all sitting here fussing about working, and everyone at CSE is like, the stink eye.
Got to sleep on the couch in the office.
Pretty much.
Though Brand could probably sympathize with those hours.
Yeah, yes I can.
The office.
Yes I can.
All right, so into the actual discussion of stuff.
Beta 1.
The first thing I really wanted to talk about is, I know most of the people that are here are going to know what a beta is, because we're really looking at an old school beta. We're not looking at newfangled beta tests where everything is super polished and complete. I kind of want to ask chat what they expect to be doing in beta 1, and especially I wanted to ask chat, how many of you are really excited to be playing the game in beta 1? And while they're answering that, and while Brand's over there raising his hand, I didn't ask you, Brand.
Same.
What is a beta test? What does beta test mean to you when you hear it? Because I'm especially interested in Brand, because I know you haven't been playing MMOs like a super long time, comparatively to the history of MMOs.
Well, compared to that, no, but at least 10 years.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I was in the beta for SWOTOR. That was probably my first real beta. And that gave me, I guess, a good indication of what to expect for this, especially since I've, gone in to the launcher and played a little bit during the Friday night fights. Beta is just that pre-stage of the game where everything's finally coming together. The devs are sitting there putting all the elements together and finding what works and what doesn't using the help of us who are testing it. And that's all it is, really, at the core of it. A lot of people tend to think of it as the actual game, and that could cause problems, but at its core, it's just, let's make the game. We need people to see what we're doing and to tell us what's going on.
Yeah, and I know you've done some game design type planning work and stuff, so you're real familiar with that kind of thing. Somebody asked me the other day, well, not me directly, but they were asking the other day why it's called a beta if all the features aren't into the game, and I was like, well, the core features are in the game. That's the point. Until they got the core features in there, it wasn't going to be called beta. Now the core features are in there, but it's still pretty dirty. It's still pretty rough.
Yeah. Well,
bugs everywhere.
I think beta and alpha labels for this game are a bit misleading. I like more what they used, which is engine test, which was the alpha.
Yeah.
And now it's going to be a game test. The beta starts with actually testing a game. Before that, we're testing the core features of an engine more than anything. The stability of the engine and the core features of that. Now we're going to actually test an actual game, which is far from finished, but still, it finally is labeled a game, and it has enough features in there to be called a game.
Yeah, I honestly almost wish that people that we didn't refer to them as alpha and beta and everything, because I know people identify those. They say beta, I know what that is. The problem is everyone has a different idea of what beta is.
Yeah.
Most of the newer players, they do see, as Dranith said, they see beta as meaning like a marketing test. Really, the game's mostly done. That's because that's been the common thing recently, is the game's mostly finished. But they're basically marketing the game. They're going to let in several thousand people to test it, tell their friends, get in, play for a little while, and, see what's going on in the game. Which I normally consider to be an open beta, which they have said that they will have eventually before the game launches. They'll have an open beta so people can get in and see if it runs on their computers and everything. The problem I had with alpha was similar to that. People would come in and they're like, oh, what is this? There's nothing in here. And to me it made sense. But every time I mentioned to someone that it was in alpha, instead of saying it was an alpha, I tried to tell them it was an engine test. I was like, you're just going into an engine test. That's what you're doing. It is not a game. It is not an alpha of a game. It is it's an engine test, because it is. But they just some people don't follow the same thought process with it. They're thinking of something different when you say alpha.
It's because for the last almost 10 years, I haven't done the or I don't remember. No, I haven't done the SOTOR beta. But I remember the WoW beta, which was the first stages of beta. The game was far from finished. It started being betas, being just a demo. Started, I'd say a bit less than 10 years ago, where the game was mostly finished, and they were making the betas and hyping the betas to make people talk about the game and market it more than actually testing it.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I was just gonna say, following that, because I was part of the SOTOR beta early on, and then into their guild invite beta, and then to the open beta, a lot changes, and their ideas change. The devs' ideas, the things they wanted to do, they realize may not work, or they have to do differently, and their intention, the game intention at the beginning, could become just a completely different game by the end. And so beta, to me, is that change. It's them finding what they want, essentially.
Yeah, for me, it really comes down to, especially beta 1, we're looking at fixing bugs and testing very basic features, seeing if they work. To me, it's not even playing a game. I know it's much more of a game than it was as an engine test, but I don't even want to say we're going to be playing the game, because to me it's going to give people the wrong idea. They're going to go in and be like, we're playing the game, and it's much more of a game than it was, and it's got all the core elements in there, but I don't think people are going to be having tons of fun for very long periods of time in there. They're going to go in there, test it, hit some bugs, crash, go back in, kill some people for an hour, and then go, all right, I've had enough of this, I'll log in again next week.
I think that's actually going to work well, because Mark and Ben talked about the beta not being this everyday thing when it first comes out, more of a weekend thing, and that gives people time to just go in for a little bit. They close the servers down, take all the notes that we gave them, and adjust things. Then we go back in, and we're not just constantly digging through, getting bored with what they're providing us to test.
Yeah, I agree. That was actually going to be my next question, is how often do you think we're actually going to get beta sessions?
I'd say in the beginning, I'd say once or twice every 2 weeks. Maybe once every weekend, if we're lucky. But I would say it's not going to be that much more often than alpha in the beginning. Let's say the first month and a half, it's going to be about the same frequency as alpha, because there's going to be a lot of bugs to fix, and it's going to take time. After that, I'd say at least twice a week for short periods, or longer periods like 4 or 5 days sometimes. but yeah, not all the time. And it's a good thing also for one element that having done a lot of betas, I'm familiar with. I even experienced it myself. It's the burnout, because you
Yeah.
test the game for a long time, and after a time you're tired of it, even before it launches. And I think they don't want that either. So that's a good thing that they're not doing a 24/7 beta.
Yeah, Homestar
Yeah.
asked if they've announced when Beta 1 will start. They haven't, but they're going to give us an update next week on Beta 1. They've put a ton of features in the game, and essentially they all broke each other. They put
Pretty
tons of
much.
features in there, and now they have to bug fix to make them all work together. Personally, I mean, I agree with you that I think it's going to be similar to Alpha. I think at start we're probably going to get some weekend betas. Probably like the first 2 or 3 weeks. Maybe they'll do like weekend long betas, just because we've been waiting for Beta 1 for so long that people are going to want to get in there. And if they're like, you have access, we're now in Beta 1. We're going to do 1-day test this week, and then maybe something next week. People are going to be like, oh, not me. I have no hair, but people will be like, I think they just want to go in there and play with stuff for a while. So I think they'll probably do something to let people go in there and play with stuff for a little while, and then they'll go, like you said, to maybe one event per week or every other week, with of course the random bug tests throughout the week where we get these emails at 2:00 in the afternoon and we're like, I can't log in now. I'm at work.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Well,
No,
Chris
that's
might be
exactly
able to.
what I was
but-
thinking. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
they're in crunch mode right now, and I don't see them, once beta starts, coming out of crunch mode immediately. It's not like beta 1 starts and we're like, okay, we're back to 8 hours a day kind of thing. I think that'll slowly die down over the course of a couple weeks after beta 1.
Hopefully
But
stop
that-
working weekends.
Yeah, but that the days that we get beta
Yeah.
will be more random, not just weekends, but like a Tuesday, like you said, at 2:00 in the afternoon. Hey, we have this thing we want available for the weekend. We're opening up the servers for 3 hours. Can you get on
Yeah.
and help us out?
And I think also those tests will be very much targeted at some features every time.
Absolutely.
I think the first part is going to be, because they have worked a lot on that, is going to be testing the limits of the abilities, the ability builder. Since they've put a lot of abilities in there,
Yeah.
and they probably haven't had time to test them extensively. So they're going to probably ask us to try and create thousands of different abilities to test all the elements of it, all the components and things like that. And
Yeah.
on the side, probably testing also some crafting to test how much elements they can have physically in the game.
And I agree with Skylar. For the start of Beta 1 itself, I honestly don't expect more than 2 weeks for them to actually get it
Yeah.
working. I don't even expect that. Honestly, I kind of expect MJ to come in next week, depending on bug fixes. I think it's really going to depend on how fast they can fix these bugs. But once they get those fixed, hopefully, I'm expecting maybe the end of next week. We might be able to get in and test at the earliest, or the following weekend after that.
Yeah.
I think that's because, like you said, they've added hundreds of abilities into the game. They've added
Yeah.
new graphics and lighting systems, new glow map. They're putting in a new map in the game.
And they just added the new character creation also.
New races, because the Picts are added in, and the Valkyries,
Yeah.
and new different genders of each one. The stats are in, the item crafting is in there. So I am kind of hopeful. The reason I'm kind of hopeful maybe we'll have a test at the end of next week is because, though they didn't explicitly say it, the update they just released gave me the impression that they're not going to be working this weekend.
No, they're not.
So
During
that suggests
the recap,
that suggests to me that
MJ said
maybe
he gave them the weekend off.
yeah, which is awesome, I think, because they've been
Yeah,
working
I think it's good
really
for them.
hard. But that implies to me that maybe they're in a pretty good place. Not a perfect place by any means, but I would think if they're in disaster mode with bugs and everything, they'd probably be working through the weekend.
Or that next week's going to be extra bad.
Yeah, possibly. We're in super crunch next week, so you can have the weekend off.
Get your rest because you're not sleeping for the next 7 days.
I hope not. I want to hope that
no.
they're in a pretty good place so they don't have to do that.
Yeah,
One thing
I feel bad for anybody working those kind of hours.
going along with the abilities, because there are so many of them, and this is a PvP game, so that's obviously a huge focus. I think the air system is going to be a huge thing for them.
Yes.
That they're looking forward to, excited about, but also looking for how everything's going to start really interacting with all these new things.
I expect that to be a big source of new bugs. Now that they've got all these abilities added in, it's going to be like, oh no, that arrow hit that cloud, and for some reason there's fire. I'm confused.
Yeah.
It exploded, everyone died. I don't get it, but okay.
That was epic.
That or the whole server just crashed. Everything just crashed.
Memory leak everywhere.
Yeah.
But speaking of the actual beta itself, what do you feel like is going to be in CSE's? Again, we're guessing, but what do you think is going to be in their goal list for beta 1? Because a lot of people have been asking them, how long's beta 1 expected to last? What are you doing during beta 1? So what do you think their objectives for testing are going to be for beta 1?
I think
crafting.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And I'm gonna trust me, Mark. I'm gonna test that extensively.
Yes.
Trust me. But yeah, crafting a lot. I think archers are gonna be a pretty big item also on their list.
Free targeting,
because they have the targeting system.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen that yet, but they're gonna have to add the arrows, as we talked in a previous episode, the arrows in the air system, and that's gonna be a whole new headache for them, I think.
And picking up arrows that have been shot already.
Yeah,
and that's actually going into what I think. And
object permanence.
The word might not represent what I'm saying, but how players are interfacing with the world, not just the interface they're using on the screen, but how they're working with everything. We're going to get a couple islands, it sounded like, that they said. Obviously, we have
one
the class.
safe for building and one big for PvP.
And so I think
got doors.
they're going to focus on the systems specifically and how the players interact with the systems.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. Not just abilities, not just the combat part. They're going to do that at the same time. And I'm sure Ben especially will be there looking at all the numbers and crunching. But they're adding in a lot at the very beginning, it seems like, compared to what they have.
I think one big area where you're especially right in that they're going to be looking at how the players in the game interact is in the building and the destruction. I know Mark Jacobs has mentioned a few times about building during the streams. I think at one point he even said, somebody asked him what beta was about or something, he was like, building! Or beta's about building! Because we're going to have the building in there, and they're going to be... I think that's going to be a big part, is working on how people set up the buildings, how they build things, where they choose to build things, how the blocks go in, what sort of weird bugs go into all the cube buildings, and porting the blueprints over, and especially destruction with the that we've got the siege engine.
Well, see, that's weird, because I remember, I think it was Crunch Week 4 on Realms Unchained, they talked about the safe zone for building. So I don't know how they're going to test destruction too much if we're all building in safe zones, but
it's going to be different, because the building in the safe zone is more going to be, because MJ said they want to test also how the cube system integrates into the game, because you're going to have to build in the game. Right now in cube, the building is instant. So you drop your blocks, they're done. It's going to be a lot different in the game, so they're going to have to test that. And they're going to have to test what happens with all players around. When in Cube you're alone. You can chat with everybody, but you're alone, you're doing your thing. In the game, you're going to have a lot of people around. So they have to test how it's going to interact and test, because that's going to happen. We all know it. They're going to have to see what grieving options are going to be, because there's going to be griefers. And
friendly fire on buildings?
No, not friendly fire, but preventing somebody, disrupting somebody during building, disrupting your building of your house of whatever. It's gonna happen because we all know in games you have griefers. So I think it's gonna be part of the test also.
I think they're going to have it separated. We know they're going to have building to start off with in the safe islands. So you're going to be building there to test out actual erection of the buildings, maybe permissions with other people, stuff like that. And then I think they're probably going to have preset buildings in the combat areas to test the destruction. And then maybe eventually during Beta 1 or Beta 2, they will migrate so that we can actually start building buildings out into the actual destruction area.
Or opening the safe zones.
Yeah, or maybe even opening the safe zones.
Like go crazy, destroy everything that you've built for the last 3 weeks.
We're about to reset the server, so go have at it. Tear everything down. Another thing that I really think, I'm assuming, this is total assumption on my part, but I assume is going to be a focus of Beta 1 because I know it's like the top thing that people want to know. I think they're really going to be looking at the pacing of battles, starting to actually try to figure out the timing of battles, how often people die, how long people walk back, what kind of a penalty that is, so that they can get figured out the death penalty and get a better idea of what they want to do with that, so that maybe by the end of Beta 1, they'll have an actual idea and can give some kind of an actual answer in the terms of death penalty, because I know people every other week are sitting there in the chairs going, I want to know, I want to know, I want to know. It's kind of a big deal, a little bit.
And the pacing of combat is going to be a big thing also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's why I haven't
the pacing of abilities, how fast you can actually activate your ability and perform it. That's probably going to change also through the course of beta because they're going to have to fine-tune that so the combat feels fast enough not to be boring, but slow enough to be actually useful, because we're going to have a lot of cues and a lot of tips in the game and not just in your UI for the combat. So it has to be fast enough to be entertaining, but not so fast that you don't see anything.
Yeah, Mr. Potato asked about how they can do it without the classes in. I'm assuming he means without all the classes. I think, well, one, they're going to be adding classes throughout Beta 1. I don't think we're going to be stuck with these 4 classes throughout all of Beta 1. They're going to be adding them as Beta 1 goes. And we've got the core classes in. Honestly, I think after these are working okay, they're going to add mages, so they'll have the other main DPS. You got archers and mages. They'll add mages, have that main group in there, and then they'll probably add support. And at that point, they'll already have been testing the pacing of battle and everything, and by that point they add those 2. I really think they'll be able to get a pretty good idea of how the different abilities interact, how people die, come back, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, when they're making these classes, I'm imagining they're considering other classes at the same time while they're making them, so that they're already at least prepared in that regard, where they have a balance in their head at least with these classes, and now it's just a matter of looking at the actual numbers.
Yeah, and Alpha had the mage archetype in it to begin with, so they've already really got a lot of stuff done for that one, which is why I think that would probably be the next Beta 1 class, because they've already played with it a lot, so it probably won't be too difficult to move that into the game. They just really have to do a lot with air with that, so that's probably the only
I would say
issue.
I'm probably too optimistic or rushing a bit to the conclusion, but I would say that all the classes will be in game by the end of Beta 1.
Ooh, you're more optimistic
really
than me.
Early Beta
that
2.
is optimistic.
No, I don't think so, because at least the main, not the hybrids, but the main classes. So that means if they have figured out if they're going to add them in launch or not, the stealther, but it's still not a given. But the mages, at least the first couple hybrids, and the main classes, not the more BSC ones, but the more traditional ones, are going to be in game.
Yeah,
because they need to test them. It's going to depend, I think, on the bugs.
Yeah, of course. And
If the bugs are being squashed fast enough and the classes are figured out fast enough, they're going to add them faster.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
the core classes definitely by the end of beta 1 they will probably have those in there. I mean, we're talking support, the 4 we start with, support, mage, and that's really those are mainly the core classes. Maybe scout or stealther or something in there.
I'm actually thinking that the scout and the stealther, specifically to those two, whether everything gets in by the end or not, that those two are going to be the last ones, because it seems like stealth is going to take them a while to be happy with.
Well, that's the thing. They have to start testing stealth though, and
Yeah.
and Mark Jacobs even mentioned that during one of the live streams. Somebody asked him what the next class was going to be to come out into beta 1, and he said probably mages, but we do need to start testing things like stealth. So I don't know.
You have a class there who can do that.
Well, the archer, they can start testing camouflage, but that's not quite the same thing.
Minor stealth.
So, at some point, I think they definitely are going to want to get some sort of a stealth character in there, even if it's not like one of the full fleshed out classes. They'll at least want to put something in there that can sneak around and try to use the veil.
Yeah. And as a beta, things come and go. They might just give us a week where we've opened up this class for the week.
Yeah.
Make a character, have fun, and then it's gone for a couple weeks.
Yeah, totally. So. Speaking of going through the beta, I mean, we've already kind of mentioned there's going to be a burnout as a possible issue. People go into beta, they get tired of playing it if it's too long. We know it's going to be only like a weekend thing or every other weekend, but eventually, just like with alpha, there have been, the numbers of people that turn up tend to decrease over time. So what I wanted to talk about were things that we could do as players, or CSE could do as stuff, different types of events and things that we can do to keep interested, so that it's more like playing an actual game rather than just randomly running repeatedly into the spawn areas and killing each other by stabbing the face. I mean, we know we'll have stress tests, but stress tests aren't fun. They're never fun. They're not meant to be fun. They're meant to break the server.
No, they're meant to be a headache.
Yeah, I mean, and this is, I think, a hard question, or at least it's hard to answer that question logistically with how they can plan things. One thing, at least that came to my head, was having different servers to test different things, but at the end of the day, they need to integrate those at some point so that they're working.
Yeah,
so
they need
that
the population.
might not be the best way to go about it, but at the same time, we'd see different things not doing the same thing over and over again.
That's true.
Pros and cons.
For myself, what I was thinking of were more actually player community running things. For instance, one thing I had in mind is, and this is not something that we would need to do at the beginning of beta, I'm thinking further down the line when everybody's like, wow, we've already run in and smashed this keep 5 million times already. There are things that the player base, I think, can do to help keep beta interactive and interesting. Like, they can organize outside. CSE does have a Discord that people can get onto, so people can get on Discord and plan, okay, the TDD are going to be defending this keep, so they all go and gather inside the keep, and then the other two factions fight outside and attack the keep and try to siege it, and maybe they rotate and try to defend the keep, which I think could give some good testing data too, because people are actually doing what they're supposed to be doing and sieging a keep, which is something that I think in some of the testing doesn't necessarily always happen, because people end up all sprinting to the same place at the same time. Now, since we have multiple islands, something like that might not be necessary, because it may evolve in a more naturalistic way. But I think since there are only limited login times, that might still be a thing.
Yeah.
There's also one thing I thought of that I think is kind of handy, is just having people face off instead of, again, running out in big masses. Have people actually organize in their spawn points and go out as groups to fight. Some guilds will certainly start appearing in beta 1 and organizing for events and stuff, but again, since they're weekend events, a lot of times people can't organize to all get on at the same time, so people may have to organize for their whole side.
They would need to give us a longer schedule, at least a weekly schedule on the times the servers will be open. This way you can actually plan things like that.
That was the plan with Friday Night Fights.
Yeah, that
it
was
worked
the
for a
plan,
little
but-
while.
Yeah, but this one I think will going to be easier to plan because they will have to test more frequently. So the Friday Night Fights were more of a gesture of an apology for delaying the game, even if they tried to get in, but they had to get the game moving and evolving a lot faster than they could keep it stable enough to do the Friday Night Fights. That's not going to be the case for beta. So having planned server opening time is going to make it easier also for players to organize things, big battles, or even tournaments to test the classes, even if
Cross-realm
saying
dueling.
that the 1 versus 1 factor is not going to be as important in that game. It's still something.
It's still fun.
And you're still going to have people going in low numbers, roaming around. So knowing how a class reacts in 1 versus 1, it's still interesting, even for them in terms of number crunching, to see how classes perform.
Yeah, no Homestar. There was no Friday Night Fight this past weekend.
There hasn't been any in a while.
They have mentioned that they do want to continue the Friday Night Fights in some capacity going forward and maybe expand them. And we know that the Beta 2 backers are going to get access to Beta 1 probably in the same sort of fashion that Beta 1 backers have had access to the alpha test. You know, it's they don't get access as often. It's just a scheduled event sort of thing. So the Friday Night Fights will continue at some point.
And on to what you guys were saying, I think it really just depends on what they're providing us on any given week or time. If we know what is being added, you know, the community can make mass events or schedule at least with as many people as possible to go do those things. Like when they introduce resources to gather, you have a gathering event to have everyone go out, you know, try to find those materials as much as you can, which would simulate kind of during a live MMO where you just have a whole bunch of crafters just going around the entire map in circles trying to collect a certain resource. Something like that. And it just depends really on what they're providing, that the community comes up with ways to interact with each other and come up with something fun, hopefully, to involve that new system or whatever it is.
Yeah, and I can agree with Farrell that the one thing that's going to help is the combat's going to be more interesting. We're going to have actual abilities and classes broken out now, so hopefully the combat should be much more interesting. I honestly enjoyed the combat in Alpha. I mean, I can't say too much about it, obviously, but I enjoyed it. But it's not something I would want to sit there all day and do because it's an engine test. So hopefully, with the abilities and everything, the beta content, just running in and smashing each other and maybe organizing into some small scattered groups and stuff as we do, will help keep people pretty entertained for a while.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot just in the interface, not interfacing with the game, but in this case, the actual interface on the screen, just figuring out what everything does, reading all the tooltips for every single component you now have access to. Days worth of reading, you know.
So much time trying out different ability combinations.
Different combinations.
The first day, everyone's just going to stand next to spawn, switching out abilities, going, maybe I'll combine this. And then their toolbar is going to be like 50 abilities long, and they're like, okay, that doesn't work.
Yeah. If you can run while you can set up abilities, I'm just going to put auto run on and run as far across to the other side of the map while I'm doing that and setting up my abilities, exploring at the same time. It'll be fun.
Yeah, that could be,
Homestar wants 3 healers, 3 tanks, and 2 archers. If you can find 3 healers for every group, good luck for that.
If you can find 1 healer for every group, I'll bow to you. Honestly, on camera, I'll bow to you because that's never going to happen.
1 healer?
Ever.
That's easy.
3 healers might be a bit excessive.
I'm a healer. There's 1.
That's only because Scout's
the
not
Scout's
in.
not in. Yeah.
As soon as they release Scout in, you're like, all right, I'm done.
Done.
Yeah.
Done.
Pretty much.
I'm healing nobody
Just
anymore.
as an
Just die.
example,
Just die.
Our guild, How much declared healer do we have? Except for one.
We've actually got a pretty good proportion. It's mages.
4.
It's mages that have been surprisingly sad for
Yeah.
me. Like I'm like, where are all the mages at?
Yeah.
Every MMO, everyone wants to play a mage, and this one, everybody's like, nah, I'm pass. I think the mages are pretty cool. If the archer wasn't that awesome looking, I would want to play one. But
And I agree with Sacrix that the fact that for those who actually got access to the alpha, finally having actual classes and actual combat system and actual combat speed, because I think they're going to speed up the combat for beta, is going to make it a lot more interesting. And at least in the beginning, in the first couple months of beta, you're going to have a lot bigger turnout than there was for alpha.
yeah, I really don't think we're going to have an issue with people being entertained during beta right now. I think I'm talking months from now, because this thing, I expect beta 1 honestly to last probably 3 to 6 months at least.
Yeah,
I would be totally surprised if it lasted fewer than 3 months. And after 3 months, and honestly 3 months I don't think is even probably going to be how much it lasts. I think it will probably last quite a bit more than that. Probably 6 months at least. I don't know. I have no idea what their timetable is, but I expect a long series of months of beta 1.
Reasonable assumption.
And so after, say, 3 months or so, I figure people, I mean, they're going to be adding new classes and stuff, but I figure people that have tried out the existing ones are going to start going, I'm a little bit bored, and either they'll leave, or like me, they'll feel like, I've got to get in and test, and then we'll get in and test and be like, all right, I've shot this guy 5 million times, I can finally kill Donnie, I finally killed him, it's my life goal, it really is. Donnie, but I finally killed him. I can be happy with that now. What am I gonna do? And then we'll have to start looking around and going, we're gonna organize something. Let me get one of these TDD guilds, and we will line up and clash against each other in the middle of the field just for giggles and see what happens.
Yeah, there's going to be so much with the cube portion of it that by the time you're finally bored of the combat, you can be like, well, what's this over here? Let's go build. I've never really done anything with cube, so let's give it a try. And then you'll be like, holy cow, this is
I'm gonna start testing the crafting. When in likely event that I get bored with crafting, I can always go fight somebody.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, Homestar, that I cannot tell you how many people are on the average Friday night fight.
Yeah. I can tell you there's been a lot of bots.
It's more than this many.
That's probably fair to tell. Yes.
less than the bots, at least.
Yeah, they do usually have bots in there.
Yeah.
It's over 9,000. Maybe not.
And, yeah, for beta, I think we need to organize a Hunt Donnie event.
Oh yeah.
Where's Donnie? I'll make a poster
Where
for
is
it.
Donnie?
Where in the world is Donnie? He does
Donnie,
like to find places to hide.
Yeah.
Give us a clue and we'll find you.
People used to do that in I think it was World of Warcraft. People used to do that in. They'd be like, if someone can find me, I will give them 100 gold.
Yeah.
I would do that during beta. Who can find Donnie? Who can kill Donnie first? I will give you a bounty. We have no money in game yet, but I will give it to you anyway.
I'll give you a sword. I'll craft a sword and give you a sword.
All right, so I guess to wrap things up, what is chat? What is everybody looking forward to? And the two of y'all in beta 1 the most? And I can go ahead and answer that and go, Zube, yes, it's archers. It is going to be archers Unchained. There is going to be 50% archers because I want to play an archer and I want it now. I've been waiting patiently.
Yeah.
I've been waiting patiently.
Oh man! Initially, the very beginning, I actually just want to explore. I want to see all the visual changes they've done. I want to see how things are working and how I'm interacting with my avatar, with the environment, and just the flow of all the animations and things. I think initially that'll be important, and then once more islands get added, I want to really work on islands because I love that concept.
Yeah.
I think everybody knows what I'm looking forward to in beta.
Crafting!
Slash craft.
I like to explore too. That's honestly, that's probably what I do almost more than anything else in an MMO is explore around. And during one of the live streams, I asked Mark Jacobs, I was like, is there, how do we discover new pieces of lore from the game's backstory and stuff? And he gave me an answer that I was like, I'm going to assume that just means exploration. That's what I'm going to take that answer to mean. Exploration. Which is fine by me. During one of the streams, he was talking about people that walk up against walls to try to get into zones they're not supposed to, and they didn't expect it in Daok that people were going to take time to walk against every single wall to find a hole. And I was like, I do that not to find a hole. I do that because I want to find places I can get to that are really cool and be like, I'm up on the hill, I'm up on the hill, na 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 na. I would just sit there and hop against things for like an hour. I want to get up, I want to get up, I want to get up. Let's see. Skylar also wants to craft. Chris, we know you want to craft all the things. Krakatop Crazy Crafter. What big surprise. Crafter's in your name. Crafting is going to be very basic, but hopefully Mark Jacobs did say it might be a little bit cooler than a little bit more involved than we thought it would be. So, I'd say everybody's saying crafting.
Popular thing.
Hicks wants to test drowning. I will be there too. I drowned during alpha at least once. I was like, ooh, water. All right, we can't swim. Crafting, more crafting. Crafting might be slightly important here.
It might be.
Slightly.
It's possible. They may have mentioned something about that.
Yeah, I'm gonna test the building some. I played Minecraft a lot. I really enjoy
I still play
that sort of thing. So I've started doing cubes some more lately myself. I'm working on a project now, but my next project is actually take one of the plot sizes that I think they'll actually use in beta and build something on that, so I can maybe blueprint it. I don't know if they'll let us blueprint over into beta 1 or if we're gonna have to build from scratch within the map.
Apparently,
but
there's a chance we can port our blueprints in beta.
They said they're trying, so
yeah.
I don't know if we'll be able to do it at the start of beta or what, but
I can see myself doing that. Other than exploring, I'll probably mess around with Cube a fair bit.
Honestly, the main reason I've started playing with it more is because I felt bad because I was making all this really basic stuff that I was thinking, like, I want functional stuff. I want stuff that's cheap to build, that I think is going to be functional in game, but everyone else is putting out all these really beautiful buildings and everything, and I was like, I'm going to make a pretty building too just to prove that I can. I feel you, Draneth. I want to shoot the ballista.
Have to try to. I'm gonna make the ballista.
You can make a ballista, and I will shoot your ballista.
I'm gonna point it at Vellic as he's building his things and just fire at him, just to annoy him.
Talk about griefers.
Yeah.
It's like when we were playing Minecraft and I try shooting you with the arrows from across the valley.
Just sitting there, block. Jerk. Hey, I'll have the arrows. I'll be the archer,
That's
so I'm going to be sitting there free firing at you. All right, so it looks like everybody is super excited about crafting. So yeah. Mark Jacobs will probably be very happy to hear that.
Except for Sacrix, of course.
Mark, you can go tell him that everybody wants to do crafting and nobody else wants to play the rest of the game. Except Hicks, who wants to drown, and Sacrix, who just wants to go stab the buildings that everyone will be building. Because no one will be playing the game, they'll just be crafting.
He wants to stab the builders, not the buildings.
Alright, well, that's pretty much it for Beta 1. Until next week when they are supposed to be announcing something about Beta 1 and when it's going to be, when it's actually going to finally drop per se and let us actually get in there and play with things. once they're done fixing the bugs from all the tons of features they put in there. So thank you everybody for coming out and joining us and asking us questions. I'm sorry about the weird Skype technical issues, but we will
hopefully in 2 weeks it's going to be fixed.
We will see some of you in 2 weeks, and hopefully with a guest to hang out, so you'll see a different hear a different voice on here to talk about some of these things. Maybe a fourth
face, maybe just 3.
Maybe.
Fourth,
we'll see.
If you end up working as you do. But thank you everyone, and we will see you in about 2 weeks.